Surprise, surprise, The Rock, the final boss, will appear on this week's edition of WWE SmackDown. It was announced on Thursday evening that he would make his way to New Orleans for Friday's show. Comments from Triple H already hyping it up. Triple H saying to strap in. When the final boss shows up at this time of the year, the audience knows anything is possible. Everything could change in an instant. The Rock taking to Instagram to have some pretty interesting comments about making his way to New Orleans, giving a gift to the city, and teasing that he may specifically be ready to take aim at a certain someone. These are all the mysteries that we now have in front of us as we head into what is now a much more noteworthy edition of SmackDown on Friday. The question is, what is The Rock really coming there to do? And that is what is being bantered about right now, everywhere. What is The Rock going to do when he shows up in New Orleans? It's WrestleMania 41 season. The last time we saw him was the Raw on Netflix debut. And, well, some people thought it was a pretty underwhelming appearance, right? The Rock comes out, hypes up this new era for WWE. He hugs Cody Rhodes. Really, he hugs Roman Reigns as well. And there's really not a whole lot else there. We talked about the potential hints that they were giving us with The Rock and Roman having that embrace, the camera zooming in on The Rock, the real dramatic effect to show us that trademark Bloodline hug, all this stuff. But now we have to wonder, what is going to happen here when The Rock steps into the ring on Friday in New Orleans? Well, there are a couple different options, right? When it comes to maybe what we think it may be and maybe what we think it may not be. Well, one of the more obvious ones is the fact that, well, WrestleMania is seemingly set to take place in New Orleans next year. WrestleMania 42. There has been plenty of reports out there that it will be the location for next year's WrestleMania. So for The Rock to tease that he's going to have a gift for the city, well, that'd be a big gift, right? To bring WrestleMania back to New Orleans. So that could be just an obvious choice. He comes out, he announces that, hey, New Orleans, the final boss is here to give you a gift, and he's giving you WrestleMania 1 year from now. Great. That's wonderful. But if you're bringing out The Rock for WrestleMania 41 season here on a SmackDown, and all of a sudden everyone is running with lots of ideas in different scenarios as to what this could mean, not just for WrestleMania 42, but for WrestleMania 41, which is coming up not so far away, 2 months from now, right? Well, you've got to give probably the fans a little bit more than that, just an announcement that WrestleMania next year is coming to New Orleans. So we go all the way back to October, right? The Rock made that just sort of surprise appearance at Bad Blood. We were, as usual, trying to figure out what it meant and coming up with all these different theories as to what The Rock was doing when he came out and stared at Cody Rhodes. He stared at Roman Reigns, and we're like, okay, this is definitely setting something in motion for WrestleMania 41, right? Well, like we said, everything sort of reset, it seemed like, on the Raw Netflix debut. You didn't really have any of those interactions we thought we would have between him and Cody, him and Roman, at least not to the level that maybe we thought there was going to be some big angle, some big development that was lead us towards a potential Rock match at WrestleMania 41, no matter the combination, whether it was versus Cody versus Roman or perhaps both in a triple threat match, right? So now that everything's kind of hyped up now, right? People are getting all these expectations. I don't think it's going to be just as simple as what some seem to think it is, that he's just going to waltz out there and announce the WrestleMania 42 location. If so, then I think WWE may be severely underestimating the reaction from the fans because they will probably want something more than that, right? We want more than just The Rock coming out during WrestleMania season and announcing the location for next year's WrestleMania. Again, they could do it, but I think that you are going to want a little bit something more, and I think WWE should know that, right? They should have the awareness that if he just comes out and that's it, well, that's probably not exactly going to fulfill the fans' expectations at this point, which is why I think the interesting timing of the announcement, doing it the day before, all of a sudden getting all that hype. They know everyone's going to be talking now for 24 hours leading into that show. I think you have to deliver something bigger than just that big announcement for New Orleans and WrestleMania 42. So now that sends us down another path, right? We talked about all the stuff between The Rock and Cody. The stuff between The Rock and Roman. We did the video on The Rock and the Roman, the hug, and I was trying to give you all these ideas potentially of what that meant. But here's the thing, right? He's coming to SmackDown. Cody's on SmackDown. We know Roman's probably not going to be on this show. They would have announced it already. So it may have something to do with Cody potentially, correct? But it could also have something to do with what? Well, remember back to Bad Blood as well. The Rock comes back all of a sudden we get that sort of fan footage of Solo saying it's part of the plan, right? This is all part of the plan, that The Rock makes his return here and all that. Is The Rock coming back to somehow have some sort of interaction with Solo Sikoa or Jacob Fatu? Could that be a possibility? Just based on the fact that, again, if we're bringing The Rock back into the story here, if they decide to go that route, you would think that him having some sort of interaction with what are currently the members of, the Bloodline, even though they're not really referring to him as much right now, but this is the continuation, as we've talked about, of the Bloodline saga. We had sort of the tease last week between Solo and Jacob Fatu. As I said, it seems like all indications are that we are going to get a match between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania 41. Could The Rock, do something here where all of a sudden, like we've mentioned before, all the different theories about The Rock being the mastermind behind the new version of the Bloodline and all this other stuff, could that be something that plays out here story-wise? Certainly a possibility, right? But again, beyond that, what is The Rock going to do? That is always the question, and not just what is The Rock going to do, what's the final boss going to do? I mean, it's the different character now of The Rock, the one we saw evolve last year into being, like we said, maybe some of the best work, if not the best work, of his career in WWE. When you look at the way he's been able to sort of maneuver this final boss character around to where it did become something that really caught on really quick, right? And so now I think you look at this and just wonder, is this just going to be something, like we said, that's as basic as just an announcement for a WrestleMania location? I don't know that you can just do that now with all the hype surrounding it, with everything. When you put The Rock, as Triple H said in the actual, press release, right? Strap in. Everything could change in an instant. You don't say something like that if you're just referring to a WrestleMania announcement. It has to be more than that. And so I know there's some people out there that are saying, come on, it's The Rock. He showed up in October for no reason at Bad Blood. He comes out on the Netflix debut, doesn't really do a whole lot of anything except maybe reset our expectations for what we thought were going to be some of the big matches. He hasn't been involved in the build to WrestleMania 41. No Rumble, no Elimination Chamber, any of that kind of stuff, it seems. So come on. This is just the way it's going to be. I don't think they say all this stuff. I don't think Triple H says what he says in the press release if they're just going to do that. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, but I think this is one where they have to deliver something bigger because The Rock is returning, and when you put that in motion, that's where people are going to wonder. Do you start to go ahead and build towards something a year from now, right? I don't know if you can necessarily announce a Rock versus Roman Reigns match right now in February of 2025 for something that's going to happen in April 2026. We've seen it before in the past, right? The year-long build to The Rock and John Cena, all of this other stuff. But it seems like the situation a little bit different now. And I know some people are also saying, well, maybe this is where The Rock returns. He announces the WrestleMania location next year is New Orleans, and then he says, but I'm not waiting until New Orleans next year. I'm getting back in the WrestleMania 41, card somehow, right? So maybe something he does here factors into that. Are we actually going to get The Rock at WrestleMania 41? Who knows? That's also a possibility, right? And so maybe the dream matches that we thought were out there are still on the table. But it does make the WrestleMania 41 card and picture a lot more cloudy here, which has already kind of seemingly been the case. We haven't really known what some of those matches are going to be at the very top. We know it's going to be Jey Uso challenging Gunther. We know now it's going to be Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. We've talked about some of the rumored matches between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa and the stuff involving Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. So, and of course Cody and potentially John Cena. There are a lot of different things. And so, as Triple H mentioned, it's WrestleMania season. The Rock's coming back into the fold. What could that mean? Could this all change in an instant, where all of a sudden The Rock is thrown back into the mix here? Is he going to wrestle this year at WrestleMania 41? They may have a little explaining to do as to what happened on Netflix on the debut, but they can get us there. And so this is what we have been waiting for, to wait and see what exactly is going to happen with The Rock. Is he going to wrestle in Las Vegas? Is he going to wait and wrestle next year in New Orleans? These are all the questions that all of a sudden WWE has stirred up as we get ready for what is probably going to be one of the most anticipated SmackDowns in quite a while now, as the final boss makes his way to New Orleans for a big, big edition of WWE SmackDown on Friday. So you guys let me know what you think. What do you think is going to happen when The Rock walks into the ring, grabs the microphone? What's he going to do on Friday SmackDown? Is it going to be, like I said, maybe just as simple as announcing the location? What else is The Rock there to do? Is he taking aim at Roman Reigns? Is he taking aim at Cody Rhodes? Taking aim at Solo? Jacob Fatu? Who else could be in the picture for The Rock, perhaps at WrestleMania 41 or at WrestleMania 42? You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Always enjoy the feedback. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on your way out. And let me know what your expectations are for the return of the Final Boss.